Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of who is really calling the shots behind the corporate curtain. And today we're looking at Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage in C. They've just dropped their proxy statement for their 2026 annual meeting. And let's just say there are some interesting financial tidbits and family dynamics to unpack. Before we dive in, if you are all about cutting through the corporate jargon and getting to the real story, hit that subscribe button. And hey, we've got a growing community on Discord where we break down these filings even further. So join us there, link in the description. So this filing is essentially a shareholder guide for their upcoming annual meeting. Think of it as the company telling you what they're voting on, who is running the show, and how much everyone's getting paid. It covers everything from director elections to approving their auditor. The meeting itself is set for the 4th of March 2026 and it will be held virtually. Now, the really juicy stuff for us is usually in the financial details where we can see how the company is actually performing. And in this filing, we get a look at their compensation structure and some key financial figures. Let's start with the executive pay. We're looking at their named executive officers or NEOs for the fiscal years ending the 30th of September 2025 and 2024. The big names here are the co-presidents Kemper and Zephyr Isley, along with Heather Isley, Elizabeth Isley, their chief financial officer Richard Hall, and their former CFO Todd Dissinger. First up, Kemper Isley. His salary in 2025 was $619,800 and it stayed the same in 2024. His total compensation for 2025 was $624,11. Zephyr Isley, also a co-president, had a salary of $588,000 in 2025, also unchanged from 2024. His total for 2025 was $588,000. Now, things get a bit more interesting with the bonuses. Heather and Elizabeth Isley both received $365,000 in bonuses in 2025, and the same amount in 2024. Their total compensation for 2025 was over $900,000 each. The new CFO, Richard Hall, who joined in November 2024, had a compensation package that really stands out. His salary for 2025, even though he only worked part of the year, was $559,746. But here is the kicker. He also received a $202,500 hiring bonus and a $365,000 cash bonus. And then there is the stock awards. The grant date fair value of stock and restricted stock units granted to him was a massive $56730. This brought his total compensation for fiscal 2025 astronomically high to over $6.8 million. This is a huge number for a new CFO, clearly a significant investment in bringing him on board. For comparison, Todd Dissinger, the former CFO, had a total compensation of $965,854 in 2024. Looking at outstanding equity, Richard Hall had 200,000 restricted stock units with a market value of $8 million at the end of fiscal 2025. These are set to vest in November 2029, tying his long-term success directly to the company's stock performance. This next part is crucial because it connects executive pay to actual company performance. The company provides data on compensation actually paid to their top executives and how it stacks up against their total shareholder return and net income. For fiscal 2025, the compensation actually paid to their two principal executive officers or PAOs. Kemper Isley and Zephyr Isley was exactly their SET total, $624,411 for Kemper Isley and $588,000 for Zephyr Isley. For the other NEOs, which includes the other executives, the average compensation actually paid was a much higher $27,638,84. This big jump compared to the PAOs is largely due to the significant equity grants given to the CFO Richard Hall, as we saw earlier. When we look at the financial performance metrics, net income in 2025 was $46,444,000, which is a nice increase from $33,935,000 in 2024. Their total shareholder return has also been on the rise, with a value of $419.40 in 2025, up from $303.80 in 2024. So, on the surface, it looks like the company's performance is improving, and the pay for some executives, particularly the CFO, has been heavily weighted towards equity to align with this performance. The pay for the long-standing Isley family members appears more stable, largely driven by their salaries. Now let's talk about the directors. Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage Incorporated is a controlled company, meaning more than 50% of the voting power is held by a specific group, primarily the Isley family. Because of this, they opt out of some of the stricter NICE corporate governance rules. This means not all directors are considered independent. And you won't see compensation committees made up entirely of independent directors. However, their independent directors do receive compensation. For fiscal 2025, independent directors received a base annual retainer of $40,000, plus there are additional retainers for committee roles. For example, David Rooney, as chair of the audit committee, received an extra $15,000. Sandra Buffer, a member of both the audit and compensation committees, received extra for each. In addition to cash, independent directors also receive stock awards. In fiscal 2025, each independent director received restricted stock units valued at $60,000. The total compensation for Edward Sokovnik, an independent director, came out to $110,000, while David Rooney received $115,000. And Sandra Buffer received $109,583. This structure aligns director pay with the company's stock, which is a common practice. This section is always a cornerstone of these filings, especially for family-controlled businesses. The Isley family, as mentioned, controls a significant portion of the company's stock. They have a stockholders agreement that dictates how they vote their shares, essentially ensuring the family maintains control over director elections. As of January 2026, this voting group owned approximately 55.7% of the company's stock. There are also lease agreements with family members or entities they control. The company pays rent for store locations from entities owned by the Isley family. For fiscal 2025, these lease payments were substantial, totaling $0.3 million for the land trust lease, $0.9 million for the chalet leases, and $0.1 million for the FTVC lease. These are significant amounts, and the company states that these leases reflect prevailing market terms. We also see compensation for relatives in management roles. Lucas Isley, son of Elizabeth Isley, earned around $292,000 in 2025. Raquel Isley, daughter of Kemper Isley, earned about $289,000. Charity Isley, niece of Kemper, Zephyr, and Heather Isley, earned about $114,000. And Robert Lenine, son, in law of Kemper Isley, earned about $150,000. These compensation packages are said to be consistent with others at their level. These are typical related party transactions in a family business, and the company assures us they are reviewed and approved by the audit committee. Then there is the director Edward Sokovnik's connection to H&AM Page, a company that supplies organic teas to natural grocers. The company paid H&AM Page about $215,000 in fiscal 2025. Sokovnik is a minority owner and lender to H&AM, but states he had no input on the supply agreement. Again, this is all reviewed by the audit committee. So, what is the story here for Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage Incorporated? On the positive side, performance seems to be picking up. Net income and shareholder returns are trending upwards, which is always a good sign. The significant equity grant to their new CFO, Richard Hall, suggests they're serious about aligning executive incentives with long-term value creation and expect him to be a key player in their future growth. The structure of director compensation, linking it to stock value, is also a sensible move to promote shareholder alignment. However, the heavy reliance on family control and the related party transactions, while common, are always something to watch. While the company states these are arm's length and reviewed by the audit committee, the inherent potential for conflicts of interest remains. The large compensation package for the new CFO also highlights a potential need to strengthen their executive team. Perhaps given the long-standing family leadership model, looking at the overall direction, Natural Grocers appears to be navigating a growth phase, particularly with the onboarding of new financial leadership. The challenge will be to maintain that performance momentum and ensure that while family ties are strong, all decisions are genuinely in the best interest of all shareholders. The company is clearly investing in talent and performance, and the next few years will tell if these moves pay off. Alright, that is our breakdown of Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage Incorporated's latest proxy filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description to join the conversation. Thanks for watching. See you next time.